During the sacred days of Devi Paksha, we bring to light the forgotten tales of living goddesses of our history, and today, we remember Dukribala Devi. In undivided India, Birmingham, the land of red soil, roared for the first time in 1855 under the leadership of two Santhal brothers, Sidhu and Kanho, breaking the chains of British slavery in their cry for freedom. But that was only the beginning, the spark that ignited the long struggle against British tyranny. In later years, this very soil of Birmingham gave birth to legendary figures: writer Tarashankar Bandyopadhyay, Kamadashankar Mukherjee, father of former President Pranab Mukherjee, Jitendralal Bandyopadhyay, Jagadish Ghosh, Pannalal Dasgupta, and many more. It was as if the restless souls of Sidhu and Kanho still wandered through every heart of Birmingham, urging them toward freedom. Yet, among all these names, perhaps the most remarkable and the most overlooked is that of Dukribala Chakraborty. Born in 1887 in a Brahmin family of Suri. Her father was Nilmoni Chattopadhyay and her mother Kamalakamani Devi. From childhood, she was quiet and shy, yet in her eyes glowed an inexplicable strength, a silent determination. According to the customs of that time, at the tender age of just 12, Dukribala was married to Funibhushan Chakraborty of Jaupara village in Nalhati, Birmingham. She lived the life of an ordinary middle-class homemaker, a simple household, family, peace, and contentment. Everything seemed perfectly in place. But suddenly, the current of history changed the course of her life forever. During the partition of Bengal movement, when waves of protest swept across the nation, that same storm reached the Chakraborty household in Jaupara as well. A fire ignited within Dukribala Devi's heart. She felt she must do something for her motherland, to find the true meaning of her existence in the struggle for freedom. Months passed like this, restless days, a heart burning with purpose. It was then that she came into contact with one of her relatives, the revolutionary Nibran Chandra, who happened to be her nephew. Through him, Dukribala became known among the revolutionaries as Masima, the revered aunt. Her home soon turned into a secret shelter and meeting place for revolutionaries. She firmly believed, without armed struggle, this country will never be free. And so, silently, secretly, she began to learn the techniques of weapon handling. At first, fear held her back, but slowly, her trembling fingers grew steady around the trigger of a gun. Within a short time, she became skilled in various forms of combat, transforming into a fearless woman warrior, a symbol of the motherland's liberation. On the 26th of August, 1914, a shocking incident shook Kolkata. 50 German Mauser pistols and countless boxes of cartridges, consigned from Germany for Kolkata's Rodder Company, were being moved from the customs house to the company's warehouse. But then, in broad daylight, under the leadership of Bipin Bihari Ganguly and Bhagat Jatin, revolutionaries from the Anashalan Samiti and Juganta struck. Before the eyes of thousands, they seized those pistols and cartridges, one of the most audacious raids in history. This episode later became known as the Great Delight Robbery. Kolkata's police were thrown into panic. Patrols, interrogations, and suspicion filled the city streets. A new wave of fear had begun. To keep the seized weapons safe, a decision was made to divide them and hide them in secret. Among others, the revolutionary Nibran Chandra was entrusted with the task of concealing several pistols and boxes of cartridges. Risking his life, Nibran brought them to Dukribala Devi's house in Jaupara. And Masima, without a moment's hesitation, without question, hid those pistols and cartridge boxes. A few days later, when revolutionary Anukul Mukherjee brought more Mauser pistols and additional boxes of cartridges, she too personally concealed them in a secret place. Dukribala Devi's house had by then become a silent center of revolution, where, under the cover of darkness, weapons were exchanged, secret meetings held, and young patriots were initiated into the mantra of freedom. For several years, everything went on smoothly, until one day, fate intervened. Through a secret informant, news of the hidden activities reached the British police. Then came January 17, 1917. Before dawn, nearly 100 British policemen surrounded Dukribala Devi's house. Every corner was searched, and inside a wooden clothes chest they discovered 7 Mauser pistols and several boxes of cartridges. Accused of illegally possessing arms, Dukribala Devi was arrested. The court sentenced her to 2 years of rigorous imprisonment. Leaving her infant child behind at home, she went to prison, a third-class prisoner. She thus became the first woman revolutionary in Bengal, and indeed in India, to be convicted and imprisoned for illegal possession of arms. But what awaited her inside the prison was a living nightmare. Life for third-class prisoners was inhuman beyond words. They were subjected to relentless torture and humiliation. Uneatable food, torn coarse clothing, sleeping on cold floors through the winter nights, and far worse, brutal physical and mental torture in the name of interrogation. They shoved rulers into the rectum, pierced pins into the eyes, tore out fingernails, acts of cruelty beyond imagination. And every single day, she was forced to pound 20 kilograms of pulses as part of her hard labor, a routine of suffering and endurance that tested even the strongest of spirits. So much pain, so much torture, yet Dukribala Devi never spoke a word. Not once. No matter how brutally the British police tortured her, they failed to extract a single name, a single piece of information, a single secret about the Revolutionaries. Toward the end of her imprisonment, she came across Dukribala Devi, India's first female political prisoner. Dukribala, a first-class inmate, was kept in a separate cell. At that time, she was on a hunger strike, her body frail, but her spirit strong as steel. Unable to bear the inhuman torture inflicted upon Dukribala, Dukribala one day told the British authorities, "I will end my hunger strike only if Dukribala is appointed as my cook." The British had no choice but to agree. And thus, for a few precious months, Dukribala Devi was freed, at least partially, from the back-breaking labor and relentless suffering of prison life. Finally, in December 1918, after 2 long, harrowing years behind bars, she was released. And then? Darkness. No official records, no mention in history books. The woman who had once shaken the mighty British Empire vanished, buried under the dust of time, forgotten by the very history she had helped shape. I am not here to tell a fairy tale, so I won't dress it up with fantasy. But I firmly believe this: patriotism is an addiction. More powerful than opium, more intoxicating than heroin, deeper, stronger, and utterly consuming. Dukribala Devi too was addicted to that same intoxication, the ecstasy of freedom, the passion for the liberation of the motherland. So, could she really have come out of prison and lived quietly as a timid village housewife, afraid of the British? No, that seems impossible. Surely, in silence, directly or indirectly, she continued her fight for the nation. India gained independence, but what became of warriors like her? Many years later, Dukribala Devi too received what the government called an honorary pension, a mere 50 rupees a month. Can you imagine? A woman who risked her life defying the British Empire, rewarded only with 50 rupees and a piece of paper called a certificate. But honor, the dignity she truly deserved, where was that? After independence, it was often those who had fought without sword or shield, who had spent only 12 days in jail and returned after signing bonds of apology to the British. It was their names that appeared on the rolls of honor and respect. Their homes filled with government medals, prizes, and bundles of pensions, while the real warriors, those who had sacrificed every comfort for their motherland, whose very blood wrote the story of India's freedom, remained ignored and forgotten. And finally, like nearly 95% of our true freedom fighters, without ever receiving the recognition she rightfully deserved, she left this world in April 1970, quietly, silently, fading away into eternity, the immortal name of Dukribala Devi. Was her death ever mentioned in any newspaper? Was her name ever uttered on the radio waves? Did Free India ever observe even 2 minutes of silence in her memory? I don't know. Friends, if any of you know the answer, please share it in the comments. Perhaps the writers of history forgot her. Perhaps the pages of history were too small, too hesitant to make room for a woman like her. But we must never forget her. Because it is through the sacrifices of brave women like Dukribala Devi that we breathe freely today in independent India. So come, on this sacred occasion of Devi Paksha, let us bow our heads in reverence and gratitude to Dukribala Devi, the forgotten goddess of freedom. Friends, if this story touched your heart, do show your support by giving it a like. Don't forget to share your feelings in the comments. Who knows, your thoughts might inspire someone else too. And to discover more such unheard tales from history, the glorious legends, and the fascinating chapters of ancient Indian culture, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Tap the bell icon so you never miss an update. Come, let us rediscover, together, our lost heritage, the forgotten stories of India.